Oh, I could title this Urgent Breaking Hurricane Force Update for South Texas. Now, I can give you true reporting. I've been wanting to do a little update. I'll do one. Look, I got a little damage there. I got a leak I've been fixing and then just taking one. Okay, a quick update. By the way, of course I do a lot of websites and videos. I think I'm going to start doing the real-time updates to my main YouTube channel. Okay, now I have 3 YouTube channels. The one most of the people had seen is my main one. That's my name, John Chiarello. Then I got another one and then a third one. But I think I'll do, anytime you see real-time, instead of to Facebook, you'll get the link on Facebook. But if I go on YouTube, then I share that link to 7 or 8 of my websites at one time. And YouTube, Facebook, I appreciate. It just goes to Facebook, and they do not have sharing links. Now, why the update? There's a lot of media news manipulation. This morning I was listening to a couple of the local talk radio shows, and there was a black pastor who's also involved in politics, and I listened to him. His name is Bob Jones. I can give you his name. He's on 1440 AM. You also have Jim Lago on 1360. And you know, an older lady called in, and I just caught a few seconds of it, but she said a lot of what came out the last few days, particularly on the whole investigation thing, and having, once again, Peter Strzok, a man who was involved heavily, the lead investigator in the exoneration of Mrs. Clinton, and then the Russia thing, and texts that come out like, we must stop him. We're going to prevent this man from being president. And if he gets, okay, now look, anybody, oh, it just came down. See, live. I'm going to fix that in a minute. And she basically said, and they do get their information. This is not fake information. You can read from Reuters. You can read the actual congressional testimony, which the mainstream media has gone silent on. And I'll tell you the truth. If you had an investigator that was investigating Mr. Obama and made statements that we will stop this man, we have plans to stop it, you would have an uproar in this country and that man be in prison. That's what we mean by fake news. Now, the top news, I was just Googling the news, and I told you I'd Google them all. If you could see this video, South Texas, but the top video at the top was Hurricane Harvey coverage, flash floods, this is top news on CNN, flash floods strike coastal South Texas, residents urged to seek higher ground. Okay, I thought it was strange that my daughter just went to work. I had to drop off my wife so my other daughter can use the car. And I said, you got to be careful. I was riding my motorcycle yesterday in the rain. I didn't plan on it. I basically had to. But they're covering it like Hurricane Harvey. And they are indeed showing Hurricane Harvey coverage. Residents of coastal southeast Texas, Corpus Christi, heavy rain, the second line, heavy rain was falling in Victoria, Corpus Christi, and McAllen. Granted, why are you making it look like a hurricane? Where hundreds of migrants seeking entry into the United States await processing. The fake news is basically telling you, thanks to Mr. Trump and what we have the problem with immigration, then they're at risk of drowning to death because of Mr. Trump. That's what they're saying. That did not, and I actually couldn't figure out why they're showing Hurricane Harvey storm where people lost their lives. That's the video they're showing. And then they're blasting that as their top news story. It came right on the top news. That's what we call fake media coverage. I heard, because it's nothing compared to what they're saying. This you saw just come down because I did have damage from Hurricane Harvey, and I'm replacing these things. But that's why they did that. That's why they did that. They're instilling right now. I respect John Lewis, a black congressman who has a history of civil rights and the famous march. But I heard on a news thing yesterday, angry, and I'm sure he was angry, and he basically said that Trump, because of the thing about the separation of children from their parents in the whole immigration debate, he said Trump has done something that's never been done before. He gave the impression that Trump sort of might have given an executive order to begin something like, let's go separate children from their parents. Now, I didn't fully follow everything on that, though I'm a news watcher. But Mr. Lewis said this white president has done something almost like on purpose that's never been done before. And if I'm correct, then Mr. Lewis is wrong. And just because, and now this is what I think has really happened. For many years we've had the whole issue of illegal immigration. In the last few years it's exploded for various reasons. Now our country, under various presidents, at times, the people would come into the country and then they would get, legal notification. You got to go to court. And when you go to court, we'll look at your case, and oftentimes and I'm not against those people at all. I'm not for the separation of the children from the parents. But then as the debate has gone on this last year, and they said, look, we can fix this, I honestly believe the Democrats purposefully blew the opportunity to fix the immigration thing. I showed you stuff on DACA. Look, the Caller Times, all the media are all in the game. You could have fixed it. You had opportunities to fix it permanently. And the temporary thing that we had under Mr. Obama, who meant well, was called DACA. But that was not even a law, okay? It was a deferred action. Okay, so when Mr. Lewis basically gave the impression to the public, a heated public, a public on both sides of the aisle who are mad at each other, when he said Trump has done something, he basically said, let's separate these kids. It's never been done before. In all honesty, if I got it right, what's really happened was, in the past, we did not prosecute a lot of these cases. And now that we are having this debate, when people are coming in, we're not saying you got to show up to court. We're basically telling them, no, you came in illegally, and now we're going to hold you. You got to go to court. And then the problem with the children, if they have minors. Now, there are some reports that people have been purposely coming in with children that might not be their parents to bring attention. The media grabs hold of things. I could go back 10 years. It doesn't make a difference. There were many times where Mr. Obama or other presidents did certain actions, and you could have always focused on an action. There were many times, Mr. Obama, when he cut back the people coming in from particular Arab nations, which he did do that, and you could have found people and children and said, look at what he did. Meaning, look at what Mr. Obama did. Or I could go back and show you so many videos of Clinton and Hillary, Bill and his wife, basically saying, no, we're going to stop these people, they shouldn't come in. And now if I picked any child from any one of those families and focused on that. So that's why I know the outrage on a lot of the Democrats is just phony outrage, just like what you're saying here. I'm not saying you're not concerned with the kids. I'm saying there were ways you could have fixed these things and you chose not to. But that was just seeing that, CNN, and I'm coming to you from on the ground of Corpus Christi, where you have just told the whole country, and look, I got parents that are still alive, and they see this stuff. Oh no, you have shown pictures of Hurricane Harvey, and the only reason you focus on our flash flooding now, which I will just tell you, you are misreporting the threat and danger, because we have flash flooding a lot over the years. We've been in a drought, so the rain is a blessing. But that's what you did. And you told people that are not from here that illegal immigrants, particularly the ones Mr. Trump has now come against, they have the potential of drowning now at detention centers. That's where you focused on that. And when we say fake news, that's what we mean. These congressional hearings today should be day 3. Anybody, what the FBI did is equal to what J. Edgar Hoover used to do. Any agents that are in charge of investigations, top agents, Peter Strzok is one of them, who basically were saying, we will stop this man. And he did say that. We will put a plan in place called, quote, Andy's plan, Andy McCarthy more than likely, in order that if this man gets elected, we will have ways to remove this man. This is a travesty that the media is silent. Because what you do when you're silent about the abuse of power like that, you give the go-ahead to all that abuse it. I cut out the names of the 2 people, mother and father. I cut out their pictures from the Colder Times, who are now charged with the tragic death of the 4-year-old boy. But I also was going to cut out the sheriff's deputy, who also now is being held in the Bexar County Jail because of the aggravated sexual assault of a 4-year-old girl who is a family relative. I would put him on the parole, not to intercede, not. But understand, that family of that girl, that the mother finally went to the authorities in San Antonio because this family member who was a sheriff's deputy out of San Antonio was sexually assaulting her child. And the mother is an illegal immigrant. And he said, if you report, he's an officer. All officers obviously are not in his category. But he told the mother, if you report that I'm sexually assaulting this 4-year-old girl, your daughter, I will have you deported. So he used his official power. And then who did she report the crime to? She went to the firehouse. She went to a fire station because she was afraid to go to the police or to the sheriffs. And then they rightfully reported it, and the authorities did the correct thing. Now, that man used his authority and power for a personal thing that was wicked. And because the media is silent on what we had seen, I'm not a defender of Trump. When you have people in positions of authority in investigations who are telling, it's revealed because they're texting back and forth, words that, if this man gets elected, what will we do? And then they say, don't worry, we'll stop it. We will stop it. And all of these investigations are based on decisions, judgment calls. That this is worse than, this is the J. Edgar Hoover, and this is much worse than Watergate. Because these are the people in authority making their own decisions. I'm not a big defender of Paul Manafort, but Paul Manafort was a campaign man who worked for Mr. Trump. And in this whole Russia thing, I had critiqued and criticized that Mr. Mueller and his agents did a no-knock raid at 2 in the morning in his Virginia home and frisked his wife, all based on a case that goes back years that has to do with, if you will, lobbying for a foreign country without registering as a lobbyist, particularly Ukraine, which a lot of people have done in Washington. And Mr. Mueller found that was justification to raid that man's home. Those were the actual charges. But he was putting pressure on this man. I'm not a defender of him. It's just been revealed yesterday that they stuck him in solitary confinement. Now, they revoked his bond, his bail, because Mr. Mueller said he had contact with witnesses. The judge in that case actually did not put the restriction. Normally you put a restriction. Don't contact someone. She actually made the mistake and didn't. I think her name is Amy Brennan or something. But still, Mr. Mueller found out that Manafort was contacting some of his associates. He said, let's revoke the bail. They did. They stuck him in jail. Not only in jail, but in solitary confinement. And everybody knows that this is putting pressure. But you don't have the right, when you have your own people doing those same things that he's accused of, which I just explained, and they're still running free in Washington. Many people do that. The Podestas, the Clinton people, all of them do that. And so, without defending the left or the right, the media purposefully does not cover fairly, even if it was the abuse of power, which to me, you empower those Bexar County people. That sheriff, in his abuse of power, that deputy sheriff, you empower them because you basically say, there are certain things on our side of the aisle that we will not expose or reveal. So I'll do this as the update tonight. You'll get tomorrow. I post the next Ephesians post. There's always interesting things that are going on with my friends and all, and so remember that. Anytime I do like this one, a real-time update, it'll go straight to the YouTube, my first YouTube channel. It's John Trollo, and that's where you'll see the real-time updates. Facebook friends, look, I got too many sites to just focus on Facebook, which is one video upload. I'm grateful for Facebook. Okay, so from now on, you'll see the real-time updates on my YouTube channel. You got all the links to all my sites. I want to bless you guys. So it's not as bad as they're making it. Of course, so I will just tell you, CNN lied for a particular reason. They lied. For a particular reason, they're showing actual video of Hurricane Harvey and giving you, the public, the impression that there are immigrants that Mr. Trump has detained who are in danger of drowning because he did that. You're unable. You are fake news. All of you. And bless my friends.